Starting the conversation with someone about suicide can mean the difference between life and death. And that is why we're here today, to present to you our plan about bringing a campaign for suicide to BGSU's campus. I'm Katie Gorman. I am the graphics designer and also the client relations.
I'm Shirley Onan, the account executive.
I'm Emily Loss, the assistant account executive.
Rebecca Sherling, financial planner and copy editor.
Our campaign addresses suicide prevention in 6 different areas. The first area is the lack of interest in suicide prevention materials within the student population. The second, to train students and faculty to be aware of potential signs of suicide. Third, to teach people to step in when they see those potential signs of suicide. Fourth, to teach how to address the situation, whether it's online or in person. Fifth, to address the stigmas associated with suicide prevention. And sixth, to create a culture of care, because suicide is not just a community issue. Suicide is a community issue, not an individual's fight.
We chose 6 subgroups of the student population to direct our campaign towards. The following is each group and why they were chosen. LGBTQ. This group is up to 3 times more likely to attempt suicide, and about 30 to 40% of youth suicides are part of the LGBTQ community. There is limited research on this group, however.
One of our focus groups were the LGBTQ community. They said that when addressing the community, not to use the word homosexual, but to address them as the LGBTQ community. They said that we do have a friendly campus, but that there's always room to improve. They really like the safe zones on campus. We also learned that they think campus is more lesbian and gay friendly than it is bisexual and transgendered. They really liked our motto, start the conversation. They thought that it really was a call to action, get out there, start the conversation. As far as communication, they said absolutely no emails. They delete them right away. They don't even look at them. When we do flyers, they have to be catchy because they're not going to stop and read it. They think that when you have a campaign, especially social media based, that it needs to start with somebody personal. Like, no offense, they said they wouldn't follow the counseling center, but if one of their friends posted something from the counseling center, then that would get their interest.
Incoming freshmen was the next group that we targeted. About 40% of all suicides that happen on college campuses are freshmen. The number one cause of freshman-aged suicide is undiagnosed mental illness. The next group was military veterans. Nearly half of college students who are military veterans reported thinking of suicide, and 20% said that they'd actually planned to kill themselves. Faculty and staff. This group is often conflicted on where to draw the line with student intervention without suffering legal implications. However, this group is also within the top 3 most trusted groups that a student will talk to.
In our focus group, they did bring up a lot about the legal implications. They said they really want to help students and they can notice when there's changes in their behaviors, but they don't know what they can and cannot legally do as far as privacy issues. They said that they do really stress that their office hours are for more than just academic. As far as communication, they said that we should send emails from the head of departments rather than a campus-wide email. They're more likely to receive that. Also, don't send things in attachments. They won't open it. So make everything right on the first screen. And they're really eager to learn more information and start the gatekeeper trainings. And they also really love the logo, Start Your Conversation.
People with disabilities. 70% of disabled people said that they would feel pressure to die if assisted suicide was legal. There's very little research that exists on this group as well.
As far as reaching people with disabilities, we interviewed Sarah Rainey. She's a faculty advisor and advocate for disability rights. She says that there are hardly any resources on campus for people with disabilities, but the only one that they do have just barely meets ADA regulations. For our communications and our flyers, things like that, She said, do not target people with disabilities. Do not focus it at them, but rather include them. So in a flyer with students, have somebody in a wheelchair. You pull them like that. While they are trying to claim the term disabled people, they said that it is still technically right to say people with disabilities. And she really wants to put emphasis on not focusing as a disability as a difference, but to value the difference.
Our last target audience group was the general student population. It's very important for us to create a general message that can appeal to all students and not just the specific subgroups. The idea of creating a culture of care is that everyone is involved in erasing the stigmas that are associated with suicide.
In the following section, we're going to talk to you about how we plan to brand the campaign so that each event or poster seen starts the conversation about suicide. Our theme, we decided on a dual theme, first friendly and hip, as well as dramatic and emotional, so that the campaign is not only optimistic, but it also addresses the seriousness of the issue. Two examples that we have that show the duality of our campaign include this first poster, which is more serious, and it inquires the reader if your brother, sister, classmate, or friend was experiencing symptoms of suicide or displaying something on their Facebook or Twitter, what would you say? Because a lot of the time in our focus groups, that was something that concerned people. Yes, maybe the signs are visible, but what exactly do you say to someone? And then our second poster, it is definitely a little bit more cuddly. It is meant to, well, the picture is meant to just attract the reader to the poster. And then also it displays our acronym, which is CARE, and it stands for Concern, Ask, Respond, Escort. And then that is in our plan, and it shows you exactly what the person should do at each step of that stage. And then also it displays our slogan, the website that we've created that goes with it, as well as our logo. Hello, kitty. Oh my, oh my. Our logo. The colors and the logo itself were not chosen at random. The hands represent the diverse community that is affected by suicide, as well as the community that is willing to lend a helping hand, help out those in need. The colors as well, blue we chose for the meaning of depth, stability, trust, loyalty. Orange for Bowling Green, obviously, but also for strength and endurance. And then gray for security, reliability, and intelligence. All of these are adjectives that we would use to describe the culture that we're hoping to create. Our slogan is Start the Conversation. We had a multitude of slogans that we were considering, but when presented to our focus groups as well as select individuals, this was definitely their favorite. It also urges the reader to take action, which is part of our theory, which is explained fully in our plan. It also connects with the culture of care, and that having that conversation, which is something that we do every single day, could save someone's life. We believe that we believe, and you should believe as well, that our campaign is the best for a plethora of reasons, but here are three. Our slogan is not only unique, but it is also catchy, and it calls the reader to action. We have multiple well-researched subgroups, and that allows for our materials to be personalized for each group individually. We also plan to use the BGSU Suicide Prevention website, which is in your plan completely, but will be explained later on, as a landing point for the entire campaign. So every single event or poster or anything else connected to the campaign, it will have the website at the very bottom, and the website will be displayed so that when you go there, every single piece of information, every single text hotline, every single phone hotline will be on the website, and so anything you would ever wish to know is in one place.
Launching our campaign, we have 4 goals, and a couple objectives are listed here. However, there are plenty more listed in that campaign, in our proposal in front of you. First is to educate the BGSU faculty and students about signs of suicide. In our objective, we want to see a positive increase of students who wish to receive suicide prevention information, reducing the number that currently wish to not receive it from 74% to 50% by 2014. Our second goal is to empower people to intervene with students who may be exhibiting signs of suicide and or distress. An objective to meet this goal would be to increase the number of students who are willing to help those in distress from 36% to 50% in 2014. Our third goal would be to reduce the stigma associated with help-seeking behaviors. To address this, we suggest that we need to increase the number of a subgroup that we've listed so far, such as LBGT or the faculty staff, to help those who seek the Counseling Center for help by 20% in 2015 from the current number currently seeking, as would be discovered by the Counseling Center. Fourth is to create a culture of care to promote a shared responsibility on campus for suicide prevention. To address this, we want to decrease the number of students who have reported that they felt lonely in the last 2 weeks in the NCHA data from 21% to 16% by 2014. To meet these goals and objectives, we have several strategies and tactics.
Our first strategy is to develop internships and work with BGSU PRSSA student-run firm. We have a couple internships listed here, and we have detailed descriptions in our appendices. We also recommend working with PRSSA student-run firm if you don't have the interns. They aren't all needed. They're just some suggestions that we have. And we do recommend that you pick one person to kind of manage all of them, keep them all on the same page. And we recommend probably Taylor Newlove, the graduate. We also want to focus a lot on partnerships and co-sponsorships. We have a couple of our local partnerships and campus partnerships listed here. This is really going to help with sustainability, and when the campaign is up, these people will help us to be able to keep the legacy going.
Special events are something that we thought was very unique about our campaign. There were a multitude of them, but here are some that we chose to highlight. Dan Savage, who is a comedian but also a advocate for rights of those, specifically LGBT, but against bullying and having a happier life once you go to college and once you grow up. So getting him to come and speak at this campus for his It Gets Better campaign, which that campaign is providing happiness and hope for those who struggle with bullying or growing up in general. To Write Love on Her Arms is a nonprofit organization dedicated to presenting hope and finding help for those struggling with depression, addiction, self-injury, and suicide as well. They have a heavy and light musical tour, which a lot of really famous artists, including Switchfoot, if you've ever heard of them, they're very famous. They play at this tour every single year. They go to college campuses around the nation, so it would not be unusual for them to come here. BGSU Suicide Prevention Share Your Care. It is an event that we created ourselves. It's actually rebranding the Counseling Center's Messages of Hope. So very similar concept. We have an example here where people would come up to the table and they would fill out a message of care, and then these either Post-its or note cards would be saved to a later date and then passed out either close to Valentine's Day, Christmas time, times when people feel lonely or upset or particularly need some little message of hope. Yes. Then we also had the idea of creating an event with Starbucks. I personally work there, so I know that they're very involved. They want to be more involved in the community as they were previously in years past, and so it would not be out of range for them to partner with us. We thought about doing something where specific days you could go in with either a coupon or a promotion code, and you would buy a coffee, get a coffee. And so then a certain amount of the proceeds from that would go towards the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And then we also have a contact in the appendices where who you can contact at their Wooster Street store to get more information and start talks with them. Suicide Prevention Week, which is September 9th through 14th. And we plan to have a plethora of events during the week, but then it would end with partnering with Omega Phi Alpha for their Out of the Darkness 5K walk, which they're going to do in the fall this coming year. Social media and communication. We saw that in the grant this was something that you definitely wanted to stress in this campaign, and so we chose to focus highly on this. The pictures that are shown for each of these were the inspiration that we had to focus on social media. This is a screenshot of Kyle Miller, who recently passed away, his Facebook page. So just as inspiration for us to create something for social media specifically. We had planned to create a Facebook page that's very similar to Ohio State's suicide prevention Facebook page, which is detailed in our plan. And this is where events, training times, important dates, hotline numbers, as well as encouraging messages can be posted. YouTube is where we plan to create a specific YouTube channel where the suicide prevention video contest winners could post their videos, as well as we hope to create a video with messages like this, and people would hold them up to the screen. They could either do it anonymously by putting it over their faces or in front of them. That just show the culture of care that we're hoping to create in starting the conversation about suicide. We plan to use Twitter hashtags such as BGCares and ICareBG and display the hashtags at specific events so that people would post them on their Twitter account and connect that to the campaign as well.
Digital communication is also very important. QR codes, we want to display those on all of our flyers, handouts, postcards, etc. The website, which was previously mentioned, it will serve as the landing point for our campaign and will have all information present on it, as well as links to other forms of social media such as Facebook, Twitter, etc. And then this is an example of our faculty email. It's one of a couple that we created, and it promotes signing up for gatekeeper training with a statistic that will catch faculty and staff's eye when they open it.
We understand that students use cell phones and text messaging constantly to start their conversations, so we want to incorporate that into our plan. First, we went with the crisis text line, which is being created in August 2013 by DoSomething.org. In this TED Talk, DoSomething.org explains how texting is 11 times more powerful than email communication. So to incorporate this text hotline to help those who are maybe don't want to call the LINK or National Suicide Prevention Hotline, who don't want to talk out loud, but they can text and receive help that way. We want to incorporate that in all our communications. Second would be the BGCares app. Students are always on the go and oftentimes waiting for that cup of coffee at Starbucks. So easily they can look down at their app of BGCares and get some inspirational quotes and comments from students, as there is a button for a live feed for students to constantly be updating with you're beautiful or stay confident. Comments like that throughout the day to keep to incorporate that starting the conversation. Additionally, there's also a tab for contacting hotlines, particularly that's texting hotline. This is one of our posters we created to capture people's attentions. They know they use their cell phones constantly. Oh, what's this message that someone texted? And so they come up and read it, and they see that a student is not having a great day. They feel like it's been not really great for them. So their friend responded, hey, let's talk about this over lunch. And this, again, shows starting the conversation.
There will be evaluation throughout our entire campaign, from the beginning, throughout, and then of course at the end. All of this is detailed in the plan. The end of the year one is very important because it allows for reflection, what worked, what didn't, and then allow you to redistribute your resources depending on what worked.
We have included the timeline. It is very thorough, and it actually starts this summer. And then at the end of the year, you can either repeat it or revise it depending on how the evaluations turn out. We also have an estimated budget in the proposal. We included everything from promotional materials to union room rentals. We rounded every number up so there is leeway. And if the budget is too demanding, we have several places where you can easily cut back.
Not every plan is perfect. We think ours is pretty close, but we do have some limitations. Lack of research on certain subgroups that we had hoped to look into, specifically graduating seniors, people with disabilities, first-generation freshmen, victims of bullying and hazing, as well as student athletes. Though the focus groups were very effective for us, we do realize that people who come to focus groups are more likely to be supportive of the cause anyway, because they took the time and effort to come and show up. So it is a little bit slanted in our favor. We also chose to base our campaign off of the stages of change model, but there are other things that you could use. And then there are some aspects of our campaign that are they're difficult to quantitatively measure, such as how many people see a banner in the union. So we don't have exact numbers for you there.
No one should have to face suicide alone, and it's our moral obligation as Falcons to make sure the community has all the support it needs so that they can hopefully accomplish fighting suicide. So though our presentation is done, now is the time to start the conversation. Thank you. Are there any questions, comments?
Yes. You said it was based a little bit on the stages of change model. Can you talk a little bit about that more in depth?
Sure.
How the stages of change connect to your campaign?
Of course. There is a page in our proposal that's called the theory. It's in your table of contents if you would like to look. Then it's in 5 brief steps. There is those who are pre-contemplating taking on the action, such as start the conversation. Then there's who have accepted the quote and actually starting to act on it. However, how do we continue to motivate them to continue acting on this the good behavior that they've exhibited, such as asking their friends, hey, you've had a hard day, I notice things are hard, so can we talk about it? So those who've actually started to implement it, but we want to continue to enforce that good behavior. So then that moves them into several other stages that are listed in there, but eventually trying to maintain keeping those who've accepted fully our campaign. It addresses attitudes and behaviors. It makes addresses at what stage, what kind of attitude, what kind of behavior as we listen there, particularly for our start the conversation. How do people feel and are affected by this motto, and what do you need to do to continue to improve the program for future years?
Thank you.
Sure.
We were really taken with the idea of taking action, because you can give promotional materials all you like, but if nobody actually does anything, then it won't help. So.
And one of the things that you said, kind of going off of that, is you want to increase the number that intervene.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious as to, in your focus groups, of how people felt about the concept of bystander intervention, because that's one of the things that we are really trying to work on. And I'm just wondering, did you bring that up, and were people receptive to that? How did they feel about that?
It was definitely not a matter of not caring enough to intervene. It was a matter of not knowing what to say when you actually get there, because suicide is such a sensitive topic. So they were saying if there was more readily available information, or very quick, easy to read information, such as one of the emails that we were thinking about sending out in a poster format would be just the basic care steps, which is why we created that acronym as well, as a really easy way for people to see what exactly you can do in terms of like how to approach somebody, what's okay to say, what's not okay to say, how do you take them from just confessing their secret to you to actually getting them to do something about it. So.
And then the LGBT, a lot of them mention that they feel like it's a battle within the community. Like, they don't feel like there's outside resources, so they try and intervene a lot within themselves. So if somebody's having issues, like, they all get together, they all try to like help that person through it as the community of themselves.
With the share your care messages, and you talked about sort of collecting them throughout the year and then maybe at some point just passing them out. So how would you pass, how would they get passed out? Just
Sure. There's several events listed in the plan. So we list out how you're going to create the event at union tables and also at Campus Fest. Attracting people with Sidewalk Chalk, we have listed in there to have them sign a banner that says that they're going to help those in suicide. They know that it's a problem. So it's kind of like a promise to themselves by signing the banner. We mentioned posting that in the union. So that incorporates with the Share Your Care union tables. And we want to drive traffic to those tables, have people fill them out. And we also mentioned partnering with your fellow Falcons Compliment Mondays and ask them to hand out these random messages to people just while they're walking to class. And also with the Post-it notes, that one you would encourage the people who write the note to go and display it in the bathroom stalls or on the mirrors in the bathrooms, just to continue to start that conversation across the campus.
That's also something you could pair with PRSSA to have them mend the tables. If you're worried about having people actually there to work the tables and work the event, that's something you could do with PRSSA maybe.
And the event is listed as like Monday, Wednesday, Friday currently for the Suicide Prevention Week. So really trying to emphasize that week and bring attention.
Questions? Okay, thank you.